Thomas Armstrong III is a veteran of the early 1960s civil rights movement in his native Mississippi, the very heart of white resistance in the South. He is a civic education consultant who works with teachers and students to learn about the civil rights movement. Thomas is also retired from the United States Postal Service, where he served for many years as transportation contracts manager. As a student at historically black Tougaloo College from 1959 to 1963, he joined a small group of colleagues and faculty members who launched early protests for voting rights and equal public accommodations. These were demonstrations led by the NAACP leaders, such as Medgar Evers, and peopled by ordinary men and women of the South, both black and white. Thomas was an original Mississippi Freedom Rider in 1961 and was jailed for his participation. He did not speak publicly about his civil rights experiences for some 38 years and only broke his silence at the urging of family members. In recent years, he has spoken widely about his experiences as Freedom Rider and in voter registration drives in Mississippi, and has worked to further the nation's democratic ideals. Thomas has co-authored with journalist Natalie Bell Autobiography of a Freedom Rider, a memoir about his life-altering freedom-fighting experience. The book is part memoir and part historical narrative. It underscores the importance of historical narratives of black Southerners who led and participated in the movement. Mr. Armstrong will have a book table at the reception following the panel discussion. Mr. Armstrong will share his personal experiences and perspectives on what the right to vote meant in Mississippi in 1964 and why that right remains important today. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Thomas Armstrong III to the podium.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. How are you today?
Just fine, thank you.
I, too, have been not quite as long as you, lived quite a long life. So I'm a little older than all of these people here, too. I have a story to tell also. First of all, I'd like to thank this great institution here and Oak Park Temple for allowing and showing the film Freedom Summer this afternoon. Some Temple members are here today, and thank you so much for your involvement for the cause. If you did not see the movie, I truly urge you to see it sometime as soon as you can in the future. It is my understanding that there are at least 12 or more sponsors of this great event, plus a contingent of Chicago area faith communities. Ladies and gentlemen, we are interacting in actuality with the gold mine of commitment, ambition, determination, goodwill, as well as a willingness to try to improve the lot of mankind. Just think, what could be accomplished, Professor Black, if sponsors of this event would organize themselves under the umbrella of peace, love, and justice? Wouldn't that be great? We did it in the 60s with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. We did it with the NAACP. We did it with the Southern Leadership Conference. We did it with the Congress of Racial Equality. You can do it too. You can do it too. Just organize, stop talking about it, and do it. Before I go any further, I wish to offer special thanks to Mrs. Ann Rooney and all members of the 50th Anniversary Freedom Summer Teach and Planning Committee. Thank you so much for your kind consideration. Having said that, I'd like to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for bringing me this far without leaving me. I'd like to take just 1 second to thank Ms. Natalie Bell, the co-author of the book, Autobiography of a Freedom Rider. Without her, the book would not have been written. The book should be included in the curriculum of all high school, colleges, and universities, especially in the science, humanities, and the social studies department. Should be made required reading for all of them. It attracts worldwide readership as it relates efforts of foreigners in Mississippi movement struggle. The book even answers the age-old question, where do we go from here? So, what is being done to many of the little peoples of the world in this country today is a tragedy. Therefore, when I speak of the little people, I'm lifting up the sharecroppers, the teachers, the dentists, the teachers, students, and small businesses, people of the communities of the South. These were the history makers. These were the little people. They were the people just like me and you who made the civil rights movement a success. But there was something strange about that group. Most of them were young people. 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, even 14 years of age, 70,000 strong. The little people were now marching in the streets and speaking to the masses. Little people such as, you probably never heard of them, Jesse Harris, Joan Trumpower, MacArthur Cotton, Dory Ladner, James Chaney, Andrew Goodman, Michael Schorner, Betty Poole, foot soldiers who risked their lives, the lives of their homes, their families, in order to develop a movement and make America a better place. What did we do? We opened up Mississippi's closed society. We opened up Mississippi's closed educational system, 1957 through 1962. Along with 4 other individuals, unsuccessfully tried to enroll in all-white higher education institutions of Mississippi. But we opened up the political process for blacks in Mississippi. We made unheard of changes in Mississippi's tightly controlled caste system that had been in effect for over 300 years. So during these turbulent times of the 60s, often a classmate of mine and I would walk through the desolate streets of small hamlets and communities, seeking to provide residents with the knowledge of Mississippi's Constitution and the entire Mississippi voter registration process. On occasion, blacks would usher us out the back door, out their communities, letting us know, as they would say, the other folks were searching for us. I was investigated by the famous Mississippi State Sovereignty Commission, locally known as the Mississippi Spy Organization. They arrived in my hometown in Silver Creek in Prentiss, Mississippi, in 1964 to dig up damaging information about me, afraid that once again I might try to enroll in all-white Millsaps College in Jackson, Mississippi. In addition to speaking to my neighbors, relatives, and associates, the investigators visited my high school, Jeff Davis County's Sheriff's Office, and the county's Registrar's Office. And after speaking to citizens of the county about me, the investigators would demand that they keep quiet about it. Of course, those people couldn't wait to get to my family and tell them what had happened. For more than 2 centuries, blacks have been beaten down unmercifully. Every time they made one step forward in the improvement of their lot, somebody was beaten, somebody was murdered, and somebody disappeared. So the fight against voter registration intensified, for as my knowledge goes with the return of World War II veterans. In my hometown, World War II veterans like Pap Hooker, a close friend, A.B. Tony, a close friend who had experienced cruelty of war, came back to Mississippi to be treated as second-class citizens. They couldn't handle it. But thank God there were others like Medgar Evers and Aaron Henry that got the ball rolling. Others like E.W. Steptoe of Emmett County, Mississippi, Mrs. Aline Quinn and C.C. Bryant, both of Macomb, Mississippi, the bumming capital of the country at that time. They shared in that struggle. Then it was the unknown little people, sharecroppers and farmers and others who fought against voter registration. But those of you who voted in the last election are going to vote in the coming election. It is not enough for you to say, I voted. It is not enough for you to wear that little round I voted sticker on your lapel, on your dress, on your clothing. The question now becomes, who did you take to the polls with you? It's difficult for me to find a way to express to you the sincerity of our plight today. Too many people have died. The vote should be free and without restriction to all Americans. It is un-American for anyone to try to place restriction on the right to vote. They just do not love America. Ladies and gentlemen, they're coming after us. As of March of this year, 55 new voting restrictions proposals in 30 states took place. It is, as Project Votes Earn Lee put it, an onslaught of our rights. This year, 9 states passed measures making it harder to vote since the beginning of 2013. Most have to do with voter ID laws. And most of these restrictions are in large part, as we already know, in response to the recent court's ruling. The decision allowed a number of mostly southern states to alter their election laws without prior approval once required by the Justice Department. Now, next time your relative, your friend, your co-worker, whatnot, challenge you about the meaning of the vote, tell them that you already know that the Republican Party in 1860 gave us the Pacific Railway Act. In 1862, they passed the Land Grant College Act. You know, in Chicago, we have the University of Chicago Land Grant College. In 1864, they even fought that most important issue of all time, abolishing slavery. And they even gave us Dwight Eisenhower, who signed the 1954 Civil Rights Act. Sent troops to Little Rock to get the Little Rock 9 into the high school there. So that's, 4, 5 things, and all back in 1800s. But you can tell them, you know, the Republican did some good thing. But let me tell you something. It was not the Republican Party that gave us the GI Bill, the Peace Corps, the 40-hour work week, the Social Security Act, Operation Head Start, Medicare, Medicaid, Civil Rights Act of 1964, and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Therefore, trying to woo our votes of the minority, means that they have a very tough road to hoe. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. King said it, we are experiencing difficult days today, and we have more ahead of us. I say, find your brother, your sister, your father, your mother, shout it from the soapbox. If you're ready, go with me to the polls. No longer can we rest on our hands and behinds just because we pull that lever or punch that card. We must take someone to the polls with you. How do you think we as Mississippi organizers felt when we learned that our fellow civil rights worker, Herbert Lee, a fellow freedom fighter who lived just 73 miles from my hometown, was killed in cold blood without provocation? To this day, his killer, a Mississippi legislator, E.H. Hurst, a citizen council member in a white Mississippi state legislature, he claimed self-defense, but he was never even arrested. Ladies and gentlemen, it is because too many have been beaten, driven insane, and even died while fighting to get the right to vote. There are many soldiers in the Army of Peace. Ernest Lockhart, my elementary school teacher, was banned from teaching in the entire state and forced to move overnight because he Xeroxed the announcement of the NAACP meeting. Lawrence Guyot, my fellow Tougaloo schoolmate, beat many times in Greenwood and Winona, Mississippi, simply because he was trying to help people to vote. There was ones, perhaps you've heard of, Michael Schreiner, James Chaney, and Andy Goodman, killed for their participation in the civil rights movement. Yes, it was 2 deputy sheriff law enforcement officials who turned them over to the Klan. There are many others that we are aware of in Mississippi: Lamar Smith, Herbert Lee, Lewis Allen, Henry D., Charles Moore, Reverend George Lee. And of course, there were Medgar Evers, people who were murdered in Jackson. And on 6/12/1963, Medgar was killed by Byron D. Beckwood. You know that. So there are segments in the society who are hell-bent on taking us back to the time of the past. Listen to what it was like. I had to get off the sidewalks when 2 or more people approached me, Professor Bright. I had to sketch my foot on a white sheet of paper and give it to the store clerk if I wanted to purchase shoes. I could not try on clothes. When I waited, I had to wait in line until all the white people were served before they took my money. I couldn't sit at the front of the bus, testify against Caucasian in court. Interracial marriages were banned for me. On an old courthouse lawn where I lived was a water fountain with the colored sign attached. If you were black and drank from the white fountain labeled white, you were subject to ridicule at the very least. Bus station in my hometown had 2 waiting rooms, 1 black, 1 white. And as integration became evident, those waiting rooms, both of them were closed, and we had to catch the bus outside of town on the street. In a nutshell, the passage of the 1964 Civil Rights Act also changed all of that. So seeing all of that, Mrs. Rooney, I sometimes wonder what made me risk my life to make history and become a part of the civil rights movement. I say to you that it was courage, extraordinary courage. Courage provided to me by my parents, grandparents, and other family members, because they knew if they kept on speaking to us, kept on praying, kept on pushing us, that we one day would find a way to eliminate that Jim Crow system in our state. I once decided that I would join the Freedom Riders. It was the Freedom Riders that is responsible for the elimination of all the black and white signs in the South. Racism has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. We're still screwing it up. To all of you here, your moral compass is determined how the threat to the poor. Don't allow yourself to go into the back room and make deals to hurt the poor, the sick, and the infirm. You in this room can make America great again. You can create an atmosphere that is more, create a government that's more. Governments can be more fair and just. Make it happen. All of you have within you that right. You need to let your light shine all over Oak Park and all over America. You can scatter seeds of hope, seeds instead of seeds of hate. You can scatter seeds of mercy, the seeds of justice and love. Ladies and gentlemen, we are the captains of our souls. We can change things. Believe in yourself and you can change the world. Peace is just around the corner. Please help me find it. Thank you.